Ladies, gentlemen, and everyone in between, welcome back to another episode of Books and Buds, where we discuss two of the greatest things on planet Earth, books and buds. The reason I hold up my phone is because I do most of my reading on my phone these days. I just have a Kindle on there. It works out perfectly. I get a lot of books for free. I get a lot of them discounted just by having a Kindle. And the reason I hold this up is because this is everything we got left. And our next run doesn't chop down for another week or two, and then we got to cure it for another couple of weeks, and things have been getting crazy. And most of the reason it's been getting crazy is because, number one, my business partner and good friend Chris took over the growing operations. He's just proven to be a superior gardener compared to myself. But me, I've taken over the marketing, and I'm pretty good at it, it turns. I'm pretty good at talking to customers. I'm pretty good at just being honest with people when things aren't going so well, and when they are going good, they can trust us that we're not lying to them. So we keep our prices down when we have to, and we crank them up when we have to. And I've been doing a lot of this research just by reading these books and watching YouTube videos and just trying to educate myself throughout this process of growing as a small business owner. And my partner recommended a book to me that he thought might help me, and it's called The Greatest Salesman in the World by Og Mandino. So I did read it, and I was really impressed because it was a fiction book, but it was also a great way to tell a story to help you grow as a salesman. The only thing that wasn't really fiction was the last section. It was these 10 scrolls that were discussed in the book. So a brief synopsis of the book. It's basically about a man over in like Israel in the Middle East, and just wants to be a better salesman. And he goes up to his master. He just rounds up the camels, and he keeps the camels alive. Keeps them fed and gets them ready for when everyone needs to go on their rides into the cities to go sell their merchandise. And he works for the greatest salesman in the world. So eventually he falls in love with one of the merchant's daughters and decides that he wants to win over her heart, and he can't do that just being a regular, I guess, a camel boy. I don't remember what the official title was, but apparently he wasn't too high up on the hierarchy of things. So he wanted to do better, and his teacher was his master was kind of waiting for a sign for somebody, and he sent this kid out to go. He sent them out with this special robe that had his insignia and everything else on it, and it was dyed in a perfect red color to make it a special dye that would last well throughout the years, and it was made of camel hair so it would last a long time. It was an expensive robe. He tells this kid, you go into the city alone. You sell this robe, and I only want 1 silver piece in return for it. Whatever you can sell for it on top of that, you keep. If you can do this for me, I will teach you. So the kid, he doesn't run into very good success. He's out there in the city, and all these merchants are just coming up to him going, hey, buy my stuff, buy my stuff, buy my stuff. Now, I'm pretty well traveled. I've come across this kind of thing myself. I mean, a couple countries I've been to, you don't even get out of the airport before people are throwing their merchandise in your face, begging you to buy it. It's impressive. People are really in your face trying to get you to do their thing, because if they don't, there's going to be someone right up behind them doing the same damn thing. So they got to get to you first, and I get that. And on the surface, it's impressive. It's like, okay, these guys are eager, they're dedicated, they're not afraid. But this kid was feeling doubtful. He's like, I don't have that kind of courage. I don't know if I have what it takes to just go up to people and put myself in their presence like that. So he has some trouble, and he's been staying in a cave in the outskirts of town, and feeling down on himself for not being able to get rid of this robe. He goes back to his cave, and he discovers that it's already occupied. But it's occupied by a scrubby-looking man and a scrubby-looking woman, and they have a baby in the cave with them, and the baby is covered in their clothes. And so the woman's barely dressed, and they got a little fire going, but she's cold. And the young man, feeling for this young couple and feeling for the woman in particular who just gave birth to a newborn, and judging by the looks of this baby, gave birth to this newborn probably right there in the cave. It was a very new, still had its newborn wrinkles on the poor thing. So his heart went out to this woman, and he just gave her the robe. Now, he was feeling just defeated. He not only was he going home to his master without the silver dollar, he was going home without the robe. So he was feeling pretty well defeated. But little did he know, I think it was the northern star. That's what I'm guessing. But one of the stars in the sky was the brightest that his master had ever seen, and he had spent the whole evening just gazing at it in awe, only to see his camel boy slowly emerging from the desert underneath the star, and he saw that as the sign he needed. So when he found out that this young boy didn't have the the robe, he was like, that's my sign. That's my sign. This young boy, he's humble, and he came out of the desert when the star was at its brightest that I've ever seen, and that's when he decided to show him the secret to becoming the greatest salesman in the world. So, that was a brief synopsis of what this book was about. And he gives the boy, he shows him these 10 scrolls. He brings him to a hidden room where everybody rumored that the guy might have had a harem or just a room full of diamonds. And he goes, no, all I have is this chest, this one chest in this room. But believe me, the contents of this chest are far more valuable than a room full of diamonds could ever be. So there's 10 scrolls in there. I'm only going to go through the first 5 today. I think next week I'll do a video on the next 5 because I don't want to make this too long. And it's going to be long as it is. So the rest of the book is pretty much these 10 scrolls. And the first one, because I find that these things kind of help me, and I've been doing a lot of it in my life. I'm fairly successful as a property owner. I've had a couple small businesses in my day, and I do fairly well in just a lot of things in life. And when I read through these, I think that a lot of it might attribute to some of this that I just knew, but there's a lot of this that I think it's good to learn, and a lot of this that I think it's good to relearn, which we will go through in a moment as we go through these scrolls. So what I did was I wrote them down, and then I wrote down a passage that I liked in each scroll. So number 1, today I begin a new life. The passage I wrote down goes as follows. In truth, the only difference between those who have failed and those who have succeeded lies in the difference in their habits. Good habits are the key to all success. Bad habits are the unlocked door to failure. Thus, the first law I will obey, which proceed in all others, is, I will form good habits and become their slave. This has been completely true for me in my life. I guess it started off when I was very young and I was getting into drugs and alcohol. My parents recognized that I had a problem, and they decided that the best way to keep me out of the streets and out of harm's way and hanging out with the wrong crowds was to get me a gym membership. It worked. I spent a lot of time at the gym, and I formed good habits early on. Unfortunately, eventually, my substance problems, as my teenage years grew, became a little too much, and I ended up taking a couple years off from the gym and becoming just more of a pain in the ass than anything else to my community, my parents, and to the police. Let's be honest, I wasn't a very well-behaved child. But when I did later on decide that I want to straighten out my life and get out of reform school, which I never did, but at least I did well enough in reform school to go to college and get some scholarships. It was because I already knew of the habits that I needed to create within myself to get back on track. I went back to the gym. I started studying more, and I made them habits. It was things I was doing every day to do better in life, to keep away from the substance abuse problems. So it's the same thing with business. It's the absolute same thing with business. Like I said earlier, I started watching some videos, I started reading some books and some articles you can find easily just by Googling them. It's like, okay, so every day I'm going to do something. My girlfriend, she found a video and she's like, hey, you need to post on your Instagram every day. So that's something I've been staying true to. Doing these little videos once a week is something I've been relatively true to. I admit this whole fiasco with the coronavirus has been keeping me quite busy in the gardens because it has increased our sales, and we've needed to increase the size of our operation to maintain these sales and to grow as a small business. So that is at least a good reason for me not to have maintained this channel as well as I should have. But I've been trying to keep with good habits. I'm becoming a slave to these habits, and it's made my life and mine and my partner's business, Burning Bush, more successful. And it goes with relationships too, speaking of my girlfriend Patty. you got to make good habits to grow as a couple, and we do that too. I won't get into that because today's about being a salesman. So that brings me to number 2. He goes in pretty good order with this. I will greet this day with love in my heart. So the passage goes as follows. For this is the greatest secret of success in all ventures. Muscle can split a shield and even destroy life, but only the unseen power of love can open the hearts of men. And until I master this art, I will remain no more than a peddler in the marketplace. I will make love my greatest weapon, and none on whom I call can defend against its force. Now, this is an interesting one that I was discussing with my business partner. He was talking about paying me a little extra on a venture that I won't discuss here because it doesn't really have anything to do with this business. It has something to do with my rental property business. But I've let so many people stay with me absolutely free. And it was just because they were family or friends. And I didn't want anything in return. It was simply because they were good people. They were in a spot where they needed something, and I had the ability to help. Now, I learned the secret of this scroll completely by accident. You know, some people are going to take advantage of you and your kindness, but for the most part, that just isn't the case. For the most part, I think love controls everyone's decision-making process. Like I said, you know, this isn't always the case. Some people might be a little more selfish, but it's because they're not thinking of you. They're thinking of another love, something else that propels them or compels them to do some good. And when you're doing well in life, that person that in need might not be you, and that's perfectly acceptable because you're not doing this for your own benefit anyways. You're doing it because you care, because you love. And honestly, because it feels good. It's a little bit selfish because it just feels good to do good. So what I found was when you're doing good, a lot of people just want to repay that favor even though you tell them, don't worry about it, don't worry about it, don't worry about it. And then what happens is it's kind of like a tug of war, like a battle of who can help each other out more. And in turn, everyone just does better, and everyone constantly is in this wonderful state of being of just giving and love and appreciation and gratitude for the small group of people that they've surrounded themselves with. So that's my experience with scroll number 2, and I find that it's worked in this business because I was dragged into this business kicking and screaming. I was at a plateau in life, and I honestly wasn't too certain about the medical marijuana community. It was still a gray area when I got tugged into it. And then when I found out how wonderful of a community the medical marijuana community is and how much fun it is and how giving that is, I was kicking myself in the ass for not doing it sooner. So it was people's caring for me that they wanted to drag me into this business. And they trusted me and my business sense and my loyalty to my friends that they knew I'd be a good fit in this community. And here I am, and I'm loving it, and I'm grateful for them. Grateful that they dragged me into this business. All right, so with no further ado, we'll get right into number 3. I will persist until I succeed. Very self-explanatory, but there was a quote in here that I just loved. The prizes of life are at the end of each journey, not near the beginning, and it is not given to me to know how many steps are necessary in order to reach my goal. Failure I may still encounter at the 1,000th step, yet success hides behind the next bend in the road. Never will I know how close it lies until I can turn the corner. God damn, is that true? It's so true. I mean, I've failed at so many different things in relationships. In life, my relationships is obviously the first on my head. And this goes for friendships and love relationships. But, you know, you just keep moving on. You just keep struggling and moving forward. And eventually, that right business for you, that right person for you, it's going to show. But it's not going to show if you just give in to loneliness and despair and say, you know what, there's no such thing as a soulmate. There's no such thing as happiness. You know, it's impossible to make money. Only rich people are evil, and that's why they make it. They don't do any good. To be completely honest with you, in my road to success. Success is however you define it. So I'll just call it happiness. On my journey to happiness and contentment, I've discovered that most rich people are actually quite the opposite of shallow. They're doing and practicing the same things that I'm explaining in these scrolls. They love. They care about others. They care about their communities. They want to see the people around them succeed. It's a lot of the negative, poor people that I see working against themselves with their negative attitudes and their general greed and hatred. It ends up costing them so much. I'm not saying that all rich people are good and all poor people are bad, but in my experience, the people that have that positive attitude and that drive to succeed and that drive to help others, they just do a lot better in life, and it's because of their kindness and their inability to stop. They're just persistent. As you know, I started this channel because I'm a writer. I'm not just trying to bring light to the medical marijuana community and my small business, but I'm trying to market my books as well. Now, I've been at this for almost 20 years, 2001. So 19 years I've been at this. And I finally got my first book contract last year, and I am well on my way to being either published the end of this year or early in 2001. I know that the pre-orders for my first book, Corpse Lily, are going to be available in fall if everything goes right. I think she said, my editor, I think she said by September. But I persisted. This was my fourth book, Corpse Lily. And to be honest with you, I went through it again. I was really, this last set of edits, why did they pick this book? It's garbage. Like, I wasn't ready. But I think they liked the story enough to force me to work on it because my talent has improved because I've written about 5 or 6 books since then. So I'm able to go through now with what I've learned and all the practice that I've got because I was persistent and see where my mistakes lie and how to improve them. Of course, with the editor's help and everything else too. Definitely pointed out that my point of view shifted a lot within the point of view chapters, and there was just a lot of things I needed to do. Pointed out a lot of crutch words. I felt that my characters and my settings were flat myself from my experience, and I just continue to read every day and educate myself in the craft that way. So I was being persistent, and that's how I landed this deal. And I'm not going to stop there. I'm going to continue going until hopefully my books are on screen, New York Times bestseller lists. I'd like to be up there with my idols. I really would. I'd like to be on the same shelves in Barnes & Noble as the people that I admire most. And that's what it's all about. Just because you make it doesn't mean you should stop. You got to keep going. Feels good. That brings me to point number 4. This is scroll number 4. I am nature's greatest miracle. Now, this one took me a little bit to understand, but hopefully reading this will help you as it helped me. I am rare, and there is value in all rarity. Therefore, I am valuable. I am the end product of thousands of years of evolution. Therefore, I am better equipped in both mind and body than all the emperors and wise men who preceded me. But my skills, my mind, my heart, and my body will stagnate, rot, and die, lest I put them to good use. I have unlimited potential. Only a small portion of my brain do I employ. Only a paltry amount of muscle do I flex. 100-fold or more can I increase my accomplishments of yesterday, and this I will do beginning today. So I guess it's just, you might have a different view of it than me, but I am nature's greatest miracle. I think what they're trying to say is there's a lot of people that did very well before you. There's a lot of people like emperors, but you're doing better than them in life. We are at a very comfortable time in human history. To not succeed is almost more impossible than it is to succeed at this rate. But it reminds me of something I heard in an interview with Warren Buffett. He was talking about the neighborhood he lives in, and he lives in a relatively middle-class neighborhood. From what I understand, even though he's one of the richest men in the world, he remains kind of humble and lives simply. And he was saying all the houses in this middle-class, upper middle-class, I believe, neighborhood he lives in, all his neighbors and everybody in the community all live a lot better than Rockefeller lived in the earlier part of last century. Now, he was like the richest man in the world, Rockefeller. Was it? Oh, no, I believe he was talking about Carnegie. I apologize for that. Carnegie was the railroad guy. But apparently, we're all living, most of us in this country, at least in North America, the United States, are living way better than even he lived back then. So you need to keep that in mind and go, you know what? I'm richer than people lived less than 100 years ago. So there's no excuse to be down on your luck and to feel bad about yourself. You can pick yourself up by the bootstraps pretty easily, because people back 100 years ago were struggling their asses off to be even less fortunate than you are today. So that's what I got out of that. It really puts things into perspective and makes me feel pretty darn good about myself. Which brings me to the final scroll today, because this has been a long video as it is, and I don't want to make them too long. But, again, I'll cover the next 5 scrolls next week. Number 5. I will live this day as if it is my last. The quote I picked is, "The duties of today I shall fulfill today. Today I shall fondle my children while they are young. Tomorrow they will be gone, and so will I. Today I shall embrace my woman with sweet kisses. Tomorrow she will be gone, and so will I. Today I shall lift up a friend in need. Tomorrow he will no longer cry for help, nor will I hear his cries. Today I shall give myself in sacrifice and work. Tomorrow I have nothing to give, and there will be none to receive." Just live for today, everybody. It's one of those things, I forget who said it. It was probably Socrates or Plato or one of those guys. But it's one of those things where if you think about the past, if you're constantly living in the past, you're going to be depressed. If you're constantly living in the future, you're going to be anxious. If you live in the present, you can be happy. Now, my problem in the past that I discovered through my journey so far was that I was constantly living in the future. I saw myself having this wonderful happiness and going to book signings and having a room full of adoring fans listening to me as I read the first chapter of my book, or even with the cannabis business. Boy, I can't wait till I'm able to pay off some mortgages and I'm able to drive another brand new car because my truck's getting old, and it's like, you can't think like that. That's how you get anxious. I actually have a great life today. If you scroll through my Facebook page or my Instagram page, you're going to see that I do a lot of fun traveling, and even in my own backyard, this wonderful state of Maine, I could live a lifetime and never explore all the wonderful places this state has to offer. And there's a huge world out there, and I'm lucky enough to be able to explore it. So I got to live for that moment because I'm happy right now. As long as I keep plugging forward on my writing career and on my business, there's no way things will go bad for me. Maybe once in a great while. But if you stack the good against the bad, that good's going to keep going up and up and up, while the bad things only getting a little tiny bit of dust over time. So that's it for today, because like I said, I wanted to keep this video short. I knew it wasn't going to be that short, but you know what? This is an important topic, and I want you guys to be happy and successful in life too. If you are happy and successful, please share your knowledge with someone that needs it today. So, click that like button, hit subscribe. If you liked what I had to say or feel you have some more to add, please comment below, because I love hearing what you guys have to say. I love it when you comment on my videos. It's just wonderful to know that you guys are willing to communicate with me, telling me what I'm doing wrong, what I can do to improve this channel, or just educate me some more. It's always a growing process in this journey of life. You're never at a place where you know everything. So you could have clicked on any book review channel on YouTube, and there's a million of them. But for some reason, you chose to click on mine. I love the hell out of you for it, guys. Have an amazing week.